The goats are back, my friends. Oh boy, what an episode. The pacing is picking up, mysteries are unfolding, and we're finally getting some answers. Though, of course, even more questions are piling up. So without further ado, let's get into it. The episode picks up immediately after Cobel's abrupt departure. After driving off in a fury following her confrontation with Mark, she spends the night parked on a road. The next morning, she starts driving toward an area called Salt's Neck, but at the last second, she hesitates and turns back. That same day, at Lumen, Audi Mark carefully times his entrance from his car to the elevators, and this will be revealed soon why he did that. Now, Annie Mark, determined to uncover the truth about Miss Casey, prints missing persons posters, and Mark and Helly go on to give them out across the severed floor. The two decide to return to the goat department, hoping to find clues. Meanwhile, Irving, still haunted by his Audi's obsessive paintings of the dark hallway, reveals to Dylan that he's been recreating them from memory. He urges Dylan to join him in searching for answers, but Dylan remains emotionally detached until he's suddenly escorted away by Miss Huang to a very familiar room, the security room. That room turns out to be Lumen's new Audi visitation suite, where Dylan is granted a brief 18-minute supervised visit with his Audi's wife Gretchen. For the first time, he sees a photo of his 3 children. He finds out that his Audi struggles to keep jobs. Meanwhile, Milchik arrives at work to find Natalie waiting in his office with an update from the board. As a reward for his work, Lumen does the most racist thing so far, and they gift him a gallery of paintings depicting Kier Egan as a black man, a gesture that visibly unsettles him and seems to upset Natalie too. Mark and Helly finally arrive at the goat department, but things take a bizarre turn when they discover an expansive indoor pasture filled with even more goats. There they meet Lorne, who claims that they are in the mammalian's nurturable department. When Mark asks about Miss Casey, Lorne dodges the question, sensing something is off. Mark presses her further, but before they can get any answers, the rest of the mammalian workers surround them. Mark warns them that any of them could disappear next, just like Miss Casey. Lauren finally relents, admitting that Casey used to conduct wellness sessions in their husbandry tanks, but provides no further details. Meanwhile, Irving arrives at O&D, where he reconnects with Felicia, an old colleague who shares his fondness for Bert. While flipping through Irving's sketches of Bert, Felicia recognizes the dark hallway. It looks exactly like the exports hall, the place where past O&D employees transported their completed work. Outside of Lumen, Natalie visits Rickon, proposing a book adaptation of the UUR for innies, furthering Lumen's quiet influence on the severed employees. Mark and Devin work on a light-emitting device designed to burn an after-image into his retina, which is a desperate attempt to communicate with his innie. That same night, Helena exits Lumen's building, only to find Cobel waiting for her in the parking lot. Cobel, now desperate, agrees to return to Lumen under one condition. She wants her old job back running the severed floor, ensuring Mark finishes the Cold Harbor file. But Helena says that Cobelvik might be overstepping and suggests a reset for the both of them. She also sets a meeting with the board instead. Cobel's confidence immediately cracks and she becomes spooked, hastily driving away before the conversation can go any further. After Devin leaves Mark goes to some location to test the device alone in his car. Before he can go through with it, Rigabi suddenly appears. She immediately dismisses his plan, explaining that the Severance chip dilates pupils, which makes his technique completely useless. Instead, she insists that the reintegration is the only true way to break the Severance barrier. Mark hesitates, well, because he remembers what happens to Petey, until Rigabi drops a bombshell. Gemma is alive, last time I seen her. This revelation stuns Mark, and any hesitation he had before poof, just gone. Without a second thought, he agrees to undergo reintegration. The episode closes as Ragabi begins the procedure in Mark's basement, triggering rapid flashes between his present self and his first moments inside Lumen, signaling that the process has begun.
5 questions. To start out, who are you?
And now for the theories and questions. First, we have the whole Helly and Helena theory and how I was on the fence about that. Well, I'm not anymore. A viewer pointed out something interesting from the previous episode. When Helena took the elevator down, it didn't bing like it did for everyone else, meaning that she didn't actually sever while going down in the elevator. Then, in the third episode, I noticed something that I should have been paying more closer attention to, is the hair. Now, normally, when someone switches to their innie, their hair shifts slightly, but Helena's stayed exactly the same as her outies. Could this mean she is in full control, just pretending to be an innie? If that's the case, what is she really trying to accomplish down here? And I'll get to that a bit later. Now, let's talk about Dylan and Lumen's potential endgame. I don't think this new visitation room is just some emotional manipulation tactic. I believe Lumen wants Dylan's wife to fall in love with his innie version. Why? Because Dylan's innie is more put together than his outie. Obviously, they live in 4 walls, they haven't seen the world, and they haven't experienced trauma like their outies. Now, Dylan's outie struggles with direction and job security, as mentioned by his wife.
Read the room. I would have picked up the phone if it was good news.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If the wife prefers the innie, Lumen could replace the outie version entirely, allowing an innie to live full-time in the outside world.
And did you do the cookies for Jim's class?
I did not do the cookies.
It's a tube, and you just need to slice them, and then you put them in the oven.
Got it. Yeah.
This kind of lines up with my growing theory that Lumen is trying to build the perfect employee, one that can be summoned at any time. Imagine a fully severed workforce, but outside the office, loyal to Lumen, existing only to serve Kier and the company. It sounds insane, but honestly, isn't that exactly the kind of thing Lumen would do? Now, as for Mark's reintegration, he's officially in it now. I did predict in my previous video from the opening sequence that Mark, his outie, and innie would be working together, and reintegration was on the table. But the real question I have here, will Mark meet the same fate as Petey? Ragabi claims she's gotten better at the procedure, but does that actually mean it's safe?
I'm better at it now. I can make it work with you.
And if that is true, will Mark even be able to handle the truth of what's been done to him? Then there's Cobelvig and her parking lot panic. She was visibly shaken when Helena suggested they call the board, and I don't think it was because of the driver. I believe she realized that this wouldn't just be a phone call, it would be something far worse. But what exactly does she know that made her run? So those were my theories for Season 2, Episode 3 of Severance. Now let's step back and look at some of the questions I have from this episode. Maybe some of you will be able to answer them, maybe some of you won't. I don't know. Let's just theorize together and think. Maybe this is something. Or honestly, it could be nothing. First off, let's talk about the goats. What the hell is going on there? The mammalians look like pagans, but maybe that's just because when you work with animals, you really wouldn't be wearing business attire. Still, the fact that Miss Casey used to do wellness sessions there makes it feel so much weirder. What does this department actually do, and why does it feel so cult-like? But then again, everything in Lumen feels like a big giant cult. Another big question, why isn't Helena stopping Mark? If this is Helena, she knows exactly what he's up to, but she's doing nothing about it. But we did learn that it is important for them that Mark finish Cold Harbor.
We need Mark S back to work.
Go on ahead.
Long enough to complete Cold Harbor.
Is she just curious to see how far he'll go? Or is she hoping that if he uncovers the truth, he'll actually side with Lumen? And then there's Rickon. Could he be the new prophet of Lumen? Faith in Kier Egan is at an all-time low on the Severed floor, and the innies in season 1 started latching onto his book as a source of wisdom. What happens if they start looking to Rickon instead of Kier?
Your job needs you. The other way around.
Would Lumen let that happen? Or will Lumen orchestrate it and connect it to Kier? Most likely they will connect it. At this point, I genuinely have more questions than answers, but one thing is clear. Whatever Lumen is doing, it's bigger than just Severance. And that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, remember, these are just theories and I could be completely wrong. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm super excited to hear your theories and thoughts. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time of day to watch this video. Praise Kier. Until next time.